Hello, sir.
Hello, Aditya.
So, the Prime Minister of the country, Mr. Narendra Modi, has given a call for austerity just a couple of days ago. What the Prime Minister said, I'll come to that a little bit later. But I have a broader question for you, first of all. This crisis did not happen overnight. Right? This was a crisis that was looming for a couple of months. And now the Prime Minister is talking about citizens taking austerity instead of state having some policies in place. How right do you think this measure is?
There are three issues emanating from your point. The first is the Prime Minister or media or any political leader or enlightened public figure. It's our duty to promote austerity and demand side management. When the nation is in crisis, when there is short supply and there is the price rising globally, shortages on account of supply chain constraints, and we are depleted of foreign exchange, very precious foreign exchange, because remember always, India is a net importer of goods. Without remittances from, let's say, the Gulf countries or some other countries, the hardworking poor people or middle class people of India, making money, living very frugal lives, saving money,
Correct.
and putting back in India, we'd be actually in deficit every year in terms of foreign exchange. It is that money that is saving us. So if our workers who are putting back dollars in our country are saving money and being frugal, within the country when we are depleted of dollars, when the prices globally are rising, and when there is enormous distress, we have to do what is necessary. The second point is the government doing something? It's not true to say that the government is doing nothing. For instance, they put in energy policies in place to find renewable source of energy, whether go for electric power, solar power, or electric vehicles,
Yes.
or improving the battery charging facilities for the electric cars, or promoting biofuel production in a big way, creating incentives. So significant number of things are being done. Is it all enough? No. More needs to be done. But it's not true to say that the governments are doing nothing.
Okay.
The third is the crisis has been there for about 2 months. 28th February this started. And Gulf of Hormuz was blocked since then in substantial measure. Maybe only 1-2% of the commodities moved. I think there are two elements here. The first element is the hope that the war will end within a few days, 1 or 2 weeks. Even I believe that it can't go on beyond 2 weeks.
Yes.
If you remember when we had conversations here. Because I genuinely believe we will not be that mad as humanity. It's ridiculous to hold the global economy to ransom. But obviously we are madder than I believed, or I hoped. Now it's 2 months and we're not sure when exactly it's going to end. So the longer it is, the harder it is for us to handle. For a week or two, we could manage. And even if tomorrow things settle down, let's say by some happy and unexpected surprise, tomorrow the war completely ends without any possibility of recurrence. You never know when the Gulf of the Strait of Hormuz will be shut down. Now, some other strait, important shipping lanes will be shut down, or when the supply chain will be interrupted. Therefore, we must now work for not only the immediate response to the crisis, but in the medium and long term, we must make ourselves energy resilient. And therefore, I think 2 months is a long enough time. We can no longer postpone the tough decisions because there is no realistic hope of things getting better instantly. And even if the war ends now, the supply chain disruption probably will last a few months. Many people are saying it may last until 2027. Because again, transporting the oil with all the ships in the Gulf of Hormuz and elsewhere, and then starting again production of the wells which are in disuse because the storage capacity is full. And then the downstream, the refineries being again operational, many of them all over the world were not operating at full capacity because there was no oil available.
Correct.
So all this will not happen overnight. It's not switch on, switch off. Therefore, it has to be taken as a medium-term thing. And from the country's long-term point of view, it's a long-term challenge. So it's only right that they've done it. And of course, in a democratic society, there's always politics. So I suspect because there are state elections due, and because in our country public discourse is not always based on evidence and logic, there was a desire to try and postpone the painful decisions until the election cycle is over.
So now let's talk about what the Prime Minister said. He mentioned gold and he mentioned fuel. He mentioned don't buy gold for a year or so and conserve fuel. Let's unpack gold first, sir. Help me understand, how does buying gold or not buying gold play a role in this whole conflict?
It's a great question. If you recall, several times from FDR Lok Sabha, I made this point.
Yes.
Not only now, but even years ago. But even in the last few months, I remember making this point. But now, when you and I make a point, however rational it is, you don't have megaphones.
Correct.
So until major political figures, and the national leaders, and great political parties, and media persons, and media itself, and celebrities and stars, until they articulate it, it will not penetrate the minds of the people. Therefore, I am delighted that the Prime Minister has articulated this. We are all very dedicated to gold in this country. Our women, our households, for them gold is incredibly important, and it's not today, for 2,500 years. I don't know how many people are aware. Let me give you some numbers.
Yes.
I know numbers sometimes go over our heads, but it's useful to put things in perspective. It is estimated that about under 2 lakh tons of gold has been produced in all human history in 2,500, 3,000 years. Under 200,000, 2 lakh tons of gold in all history. Right from Roman Empire days, our Shatavahanas, when there was flourishing trade between Europe and India, for instance, Roman Empire and India, there's ample record, written record. India sold exotic products to the Roman Empire. We bought back gold and jewelry, and therefore the Roman historians, they lamented that India is selling us useless, costly stuff, and they're taking away all our gold and diamonds and all that. That's our fascination since then. So of this 2 lakh tons, an estimated 36 to 37,000 tons of gold is in India. The largest quantity in the world. No country comes anywhere near that. We produce practically zero gold.
Okay.
We produce practically zero gold. For instance, China is the biggest producer, like many other commodities. China produces, I have some numbers here, 380 tons. Last year, they produced 380 tons. Russia, 330 tons, their own mining and production. Australia, 284 tons. Canada, 202 tons. United States, I think some 180 tons or something. We are nowhere. We are the biggest importers in the world.
Okay.
750 tons. Last 2 years, we imported 1,500 tons. If the total production of the world of gold is about 3,000 tons, 25% is imported by India.
Only by India.
Only by India. Last year, our import bill of gold alone was $72 billion. Next only to oil. At the current prices, if we import the same quantity, it will probably be about $140 to $150 billion. These are fantastic numbers.
Yes.
There are therefore two issues here. One, culturally, every Indian family, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, upper caste, lower caste, rural, urban, they all treat gold as very important for weddings, for other festivals, other things, etc. So we're not here to change the culture of a society overnight.
Correct.
But when we have so much of gold available, the value of the gold available in India with us, most of it is with the people. Only a small percentage, about under 1,000 tons, about 900 tons or so, or 800 tons is the Reserve Bank of India. Exact quantities they don't reveal. So about 97% is with the people, 97, 98%. Now, let's drop gold for a moment. Think of money.
Okay.
What is banking? When you have money, you have surplus money, more than what you need to spend for your needs or desires or even for investments. What do? You put it in a bank.
Yes.
You put it somewhere. You get some income from that. But where is that money going? That money is not put away in a
Correct.
in a what do we call in a
Locker.
in a
say.
locker or a box or something. That money goes to somebody else who needs it. Maybe to build a home, maybe to build a business, maybe to build a factory, to create jobs, create wealth. So money must be circulated. Only then economy grows. If money simply stays stagnant, if all of us put away our money in our respective lockers at home, then economic growth stops.
Correct.
Gold, the total gold available in India is probably more than $5.5 trillion. That is $5,500 billion at this point of time. Of course, it increased dramatically in the last 1 year because of the price rise globally. Our GDP is around $4 trillion, give or take a little bit. That is $4,000 billion. This is almost 1.5 times, a little less than 1.5 times of our GDP. Now, what are the objectives now we should promote? One, can we convert this $5 trillion wealth, which is simply a dead capital now, it's locked away somewhere. Unlike money which is circulating, somebody who needs it is using it, paying back, and banks keep some cash always available so that whenever I want to withdraw my deposit, I can get back the money. Much larger quantity, $5 trillion, we don't have such a mechanism, and therefore that there's a debt capital.
Correct.
At a time when the country needs enormous monies for investment, from national highways to ports to other infrastructure to private businesses to building homes, meeting the needs of the society and building the economy, we have to create something. The second is, can we do something like this money and see that your gold is not going anywhere, but when somebody needs it, that gold can go there.
Okay.
So one is to build the economy. The second is, instead of importing, when anyway we have gold, and not everybody needs it every year, can a significant portion of it be available in banks or some other institutions, so that it's internally circulated.
Yeah.
So both these are very vital requirements. But that also means that we will be exercising some frugality, some restraint. I was happy to note that the Gold Merchants Association, they wanted to meet the government, the Prime Minister and the government, with the constructive ideas, because they're saying, yes, it's a very good appeal, but here are the ways, because they know, they understand. What do you know, what do I know?
Correct.
I have never worn a gold ornament in my life, even a small ring or anything, trinket. So I only know what is told by others.
Yes.
But these are people who know, they are the masters of the business. I think it's time that we somehow monetize the gold as much as possible, use it for the economy in the country, and also minimize or in fact eliminate imports altogether, so that the available gold within the country is circulated for our cultural and domestic needs. I think that's the right thing. And the Prime Minister emphasizing that is a necessary thing, because in India we are always worried about the votes.
Yes.
And we fear that women, if they tell them, look, don't buy gold, they will vote against you. This is the fear, let's be blunt. We are all keeping silent. But I think our women, our families, our voters are much wiser. Whatever we are discussing, they have intuitive understanding. So we have to create a framework in which nobody loses anything. You actually gain, instead of gold being simply stored in your locker, if that gold yields you even 1%, 0.5%, let's say, interest. But there's a mechanism by which internally gold is circulated so that those who need, they get gold. If something is done, and if we curb our enthusiasm for gold, I think it will be great for the country. It's an absolutely necessary appeal. We should welcome it, and to the extent possible, all of us should follow it.
So that clears up a lot of things, because people don't actually understand how gold is related to these things. So the fact that we import a lot of gold and then we have already a lot of gold in the country makes a lot of sense. But one thing that is very clear is the fuel, because we know that fuel is coming from the specific state of Hormuz for that matter, and we should conserve fuel. My question on fuel is slightly different, because we know that we import a lot of oil. We have known that India is dependent on fuel for a long time. Has government, successive governments, not just this government, have governments failed to make India dependent on fuel? or dependent in terms of oil? What can they do in that space?
We cannot blame any government anywhere in the world for dependence on fossil fuels, whether it's coal. Luckily, we have enough coal, though it's inferior quality. Our coal is not good quality. Many people may not realize. The calorific value, the heat generated by burning coal is much less in India because ash content is very high. In Australia, in Indonesia, in other countries, if the ash content is, let's say, 10, 12% or 15%, in India it is as high as 35 to 40%, very high ash content. Despite that, we have done a remarkable job as a country, not one government or one day. Our power plants have the highest plant load factor. That means if the rated capacity of a power plant, let's say, is 1,000 megawatts, consistently in India, we manage to generate 90-95% of that. Elsewhere in the world, it's 55-60%.
Oh.
So that way we are very good. NTPC or the state electricity boards, etc., generation part we've done well. So coal, and unfortunately, oil and gas are necessary too. All your petrol,
Yes.
all your diesel, your engine oil, your lubricants, many other derivatives of the oils, from plastics to fertilizers to many, many things. And then your gas, cooking gas at home,
Yes.
the gas required for industrial purposes. So all this has to be necessarily imported. Now, let me give you some numbers. What is happening? Over the years, certainly we try to diversify.
Okay.
But it's very difficult for a country without indigenous mining resource of oil to be able to fully diversify. There's not a single country in the world, single big country in the world, which could diversify from oil requirement without indigenous oil availability. Britain used to import, then North Sea oil came, therefore, for a long time they did not have to import. But now, even Britain, North Sea oil is depleted, oil and gas are depleted, and therefore they buy gas now. That's why Ukraine war, when Russian gas, European countries decided not to buy, the prices went up and they had to go through a lot of difficulty world over. China indigenizes everything, right? China is a master.
Yes.
It's a miracle economy. China consumes 16 million barrels of oil a day. They have far more oil available under the ground, unlike India. Despite that, they have to import 75% of the oil. 4 million barrels a day they're producing from their own mines, whereas from the rest of the world they buy 12 million barrels. India is the second biggest importer in the world. We import about 5.5 million barrels a day. 85 to 90% is imported because we don't have the luxury of even China. Very few countries are very self-sufficient. United States is self-sufficient.
Yes.
The prices go up because the commodity is global. But US as a separate economy produces more oil and gas than they need actually. They're net exporters. Canada, again, a big country with vast natural resources. Russia, big country, vast natural resources. Among smaller countries, Norway. Norway, humongous amount of gas they produce and export. Otherwise, almost every country, except the oil producing countries themselves, they need import. It's not possible to find substitutes overnight. But the world is moving in that direction. Luckily, technology is coming to our aid. India is doing a pretty good job in the last 10, 15 years, for instance, in electrification.
Yes.
We're moving more and more towards electric cars, electricity generation, solar power. We now have something like, I think, 240 gigawatts of renewable power in the country. I think about 240, 245. Of that, 150 gigawatts is only solar power.
Okay.
Most of it only in the last 10 years or so. As a mission, we are going ahead. But that's not enough. We need to do a lot more. Just to give comparison, not to depress us, China has done 3,960 gigawatts. Or 150 is the third highest in the world. US is more than us. But a distant third.
Yes.
China really did a remarkable job. Now we must really do a China now. Next 10 years, we must make it an absolute mission, like a war, that practically no vehicle will run on the streets of India, motor vehicle. without electric batteries. Because electric solar power technology, electric batteries and storage technology, and electric automobiles technology, they have all now matured to a level where they are actually very efficient, very economical. So we must leverage that and aggressively push for that. So something is being done. Similarly, blending ethanol from industry, we succeeded 100%. That is 20% ethanol blend in petrol is now universal. We actually achieved the target. We exceeded the target. Recently, there is also a goal to go for blending in diesel. There are some technical difficulties, which sometimes you and I don't understand, but suffices to say there are solutions to that, and government is pushing it. So efforts are underway. They are not enough. After this crisis, the price shooting up, supply chain disruption, you can never be sure that for the next 10 years, 20 years, it will not happen again. It may happen again and again and again. Therefore, we must make it a national mission to stop dependence on oil for our automobile purposes and many other purposes in a substantial measure through electrification, solar power, storage battery, and electric cars within the next 10 years. And we probably have to go for the target for 2030, if I'm not mistaken, is 500 gigawatts of electric solar power. Gigawatt is 1,000 megawatts. Probably next 5 years after that, we must do another 500 or more, at least, maybe 1,500. And we must create a framework that within 10 years, there will not be any petrol or diesel vehicles sold in the country. Everything will be electric, and there must be charging system. Again, charging efforts are being made. So I think it's a very vital requirement because just to understand what's happening in terms of oil, we are importing 95 million tons of, we are consuming 95 million tons of diesel every year. That is 11,000 crore liters. That is more than 30 crore liters a day. More than 30 crore liters a day we are consuming. Only diesel. And we are consuming petrol about 6,000 crore liters. 11,000 crore liters of diesel, 6,000 crore liters of petrol. Now, we must bring it down by 50-60% in the next 10 years. It's possible. It's not easy. But China is going to achieve that. Now they will achieve that. They were already doing a magnificent job. We can do that too. Because technology is there, economies of scale are there, and it's very efficient, it's low cost, and it's zero pollution. It's win-win-win. Because India's greatest advantage is plentiful sunshine. We have more sun than we need. There's no major country which has so much sun as India for so many days around the year. No country at all. So not doing that is a crime, not converting. And then we have to also do other things. We must produce whatever oil is required or gas is required. For instance, your light petroleum gas. That also must either go for electrification of our kitchen gadgets, and we must actually produce this gas and wherever required oil, etc., from agriculture. Because again, remember, all energy comes from the sun. Sun to plants. Plants, when they're buried under the soil for millions of years, becomes oil and gas. So you can now we have the ability to directly convert that. And technology is available. Therefore, biomass, we can convert directly into either gas or oil or biochar, other energy forms. So in effect, humanity at large, but India definitely, must be completely weaned away from imported oil and gas. It's possible. And now the technology is available. We must do everything possible to reduce consumption, to conserve. For instance, take Hyderabad city, there are 81 lakh private vehicles in this city. 81 lakhs private vehicles in this city. If you take the unit population, Hyderabad has higher number of vehicles per 100 population compared to Delhi and Mumbai. Much bigger, much richer cities. Compared to London, compared to New York, compared to Singapore, compared to Shanghai, every major city. Are we richer than them? No. But because we have very bad transport system, not reliable at all, even the poor and the low middle classes are forced to depend on private vehicles. And then, in turn, diesel, petrol, so on and so forth. So, not only do we have to conserve, because as I keep saying, if somebody rich and powerful, very expensive big car, as big as a plane or something, takes it for a 20-kilometer pleasure trip to buy ice cream or to watch a cricket match, nothing wrong with watching a cricket match. But because you can afford it, you consume humongous amounts of diesel and petrol, which the country has to import with precious dollars that we do not have, we're in short supply, and polluting the environment. Is it a wise thing? So is it unfair to say, to the extent possible, do carpooling, walk where you can, and minimize the need for motorized transport, and don't consume fuel, or use public transport. You have electric buses now, you have metro systems now, and build pressure on the governments to improve these systems. So again, the other part is not merely citizens. The government must do what it takes to make a viable, safe, comfortable, predictable, assured public transport system. Every civilized city does it. In India, cities are growing without really building public transport systems. So we must take it as a war, a national emergency for the next 10 years, and transform the energy sector in the country.
So I have two follow-ups to that. You touched two things. We'll come to public transport as well and what the state should do there. But you also touched upon agriculture.
Yes.
Another aspect of this crisis is the fertilizers also. The prices are supposed to go up. It's not. I think the government is absorbing the increase in prices as of
Some
now.
45,000 crores, they increased the subsidy. It may increase further now.
Yes.
Because oil price is going up and
Yes.
up and up.
Exactly. So this is, from the outside, it looks like a very sort of a very thin margin. How do you convince farmers? How do you, because these are also vulnerable sections of society, people who are farming. But India, like you keep mentioning, is a large agricultural land, right? We have one of the highest percentage of land used for agriculture. Can we do something about that?
First, about the subsidies.
Yeah.
Fertilizer, we can do a bit of adjustment, but given India's agricultural problems, because even today 46% people depend on agriculture.
Yes.
Rural incomes are still low compared to urban incomes. And therefore, I don't think this is the time now to increase the fertilizer price dramatically. Some adjustments are possible. So we have to bear the burden as a country. That means taxpayer. It's not coming free, remember. It's not coming from Prime Minister's pocket or Chief Minister's pocket. It's coming for the taxpayer. Instead of going for other users, this money is now spent for this. So fertilizer, for some time probably we have to continue, but you have to rationalize application, but that's a different issue. But however, it's possible to convert agricultural waste or even green mass produced, biomass produced in agriculture, consciously, deliberately, into both oil or gas or biochar, other energy forms, and into organic fertilizer. Let me give one example. Now, I told you about diesel and petrol consumption in India. LPG, that petroleum gas we use for a household cooking needs, etc., 33 million tons we are using in the country. 33 million tons. Now, we are losing on diesel 18 rupees per litre because the price that is charged of the consumer is lower than the actual cost of supply in today's conditions. Petrol, we are losing 14 rupees per litre. So petrol and diesel alone, we are losing 280,000 crores per year. At the current rate, if 1 year it continues. Biogas, LPG, the cooking gas, we are losing 330 rupees per cylinder of 14 kgs, 14.2 kgs. That means we are losing about 90,000 crores there. So 360,000 crores, 1,000 crores a day is coming from the tax money, the money that should go into education, healthcare, national highways, ports, infrastructure, welfare for the people. Now, so far, the government bore the burden. Government means taxpayer.
Yes.
We all bore the burden. Our money, tax money, is going here. And taxation of these commodities is also necessary because how else do you raise taxes? Our tax GDP ratio is very low. So there's no choice. People say, why are you collecting taxes? The taxes are going where? They are supposed to go back to build up common amenities and services. Now, therefore, I believe it's absolutely necessary that you must be willing to bear a higher cost of petrol and diesel.
Okay.
That also incentivizes us to consume less. Because price is the best signal. We will, at least those who are conscious of costs and thrift and all that, they will try and consume less. Otherwise, you keep the price low and ask them not to consume it, it's not a rational thing. Now, in addition, as you said, agriculture can be a fantastic thing. We have one great resource in this country in terms of land. India is not a big country land-wise. We are a big country already, sixth largest country in the world. But compared to other countries, we are very small relative to our population. Russia is 6 times India's size. America is 3 times India's size. Canada is 3 times India's size. China is 3 times India's size. Brazil and Australia 2.5 to 3 times India's size. After that, we come. So, compared to large countries, other countries, we have per capita land availability is small. But we have one great good fortune. 50% of our land is put to agriculture.
Yes.
There is no big country where they come anywhere near this. That's why the actual agricultural land in India is on par with America, sometimes exceeding America's. 11% of the world's agricultural land is with us. And we have plenty of sunshine. We discussed earlier.
Yes.
Even when you don't need it, you need sunshine. You have sunshine. Every day, the hot sun is part of our life, our culture. And we have a culture of agriculture.
Yes.
In most parts of India, we have fertile soils and reasonable availability of water. Now, we are overproducing rice and wheat because the whole green revolution was about food security. Food security meant cereal production, hydrocarbons, carbohydrates. And we are overproducing because we have policies to procure even when the demand is not there, pay a high price more than the market price, etc. Now, there is, if you are wise as a country, if the government comes up with a rational policy and if the private sector responds, you can achieve 3 objectives at one go. One, reduce import of petroleum products, oil and gas. 2, increase the farmer's income. 3, reduce the need for procurement at a above market price at the cost of the exchequer. Because rice, for instance, the average consumption has come down. People used to eat this much earlier.
Yes.
Now they eat this much because fruits, vegetables, milk, eggs, fish, meat, these are all necessary for proper food. So what's happening by overeating rice, you only get diabetes and we have a big potch, obesity. It's not good for health. So people are moving towards better foods.
Yes.
But we are still overproducing rice. We're procuring rice when market demand is not there. Because farmer is in distress, we are forced to do that at the cost of the government, at the cost of the tax money.
Yes.
Now, supposing you get more income than rice production, without the government having to buy and waste taxpayers' money, that's another win. So it's a win-win-win solution. Reduce imports, increase farmers' income, and reduce the expenditure on procurement of food grains which are not eaten by anybody. Now, it is recycled.
Yes.
You get 2 rupees rice or 1 rupee rice, and because the ration card holder gets it at a nominal price 1 rupee or 2 rupees, you sell it 8 or 10 rupees. It goes back and recycled, and then government subsidy again goes back to the PDS. One way we are being fleeced as a country, or this is converted into broken rice. They say it's a wasteful rice, useless rice. It's converted into ethanol or alcohol. So in effect, government is subsidizing taxpayers' money for somebody else without adequate benefits. It's not a wise thing. There are technologies available now. I'll give you one example. There's something called Napier grass.
Yes.
Very high yield, high quality Napier grass is now available. Now, if 1,000,000 hectares, India has 160 to 170 million hectares of agricultural land. If half of 1%, about half of 1%, or a little, maybe 3/4 of 1% of that land is converted to energy plantations, Napier grass. That means the paddy fields, which have plenty of irrigation, paddy requires plenty of water, paddy, sugarcane, etc. Instead of raising paddy, you raise Napier grass.
Yes.
And if you have processing units converting Napier grass into, let's say, biogas, compressed biogas, instead of LPG, you can use this biogas. Or you can go to biochar production or oil production. If you assume biogas, 1 million hectares of land, if it's deployed for this, we can reduce 16 million tons of import of LPG. 16 million tons. That means 70 to 80% of all the import will stop in LPG by
Less
this
than
one small thing.
Less than 1% of land.
Farmers will get immense benefit. The exchequer is saved of immense loss of money, and we don't have to buy from foreign exchange. We'll save enormous amount in terms of foreign exchange. So this kind of a program must be taken up on a mission mode across the country, at least in states where high irrigation carbohydrate crops like rice, etc., are taken up. Because this requires around there good temperature, therefore I think southern parts of the country are probably better placed than northern parts, because Rabi season may be difficult there. So we have to really innovate. There are win-win solutions. 20, 30 years ago, we didn't have these solutions. When there was a global crisis in 1970s because of oil price high,
Yes.
The world didn't have a solution. Even in the 1990s and 2000, whenever there was a problem, the world didn't have solutions. But now, technology has matured. There are practical solutions. We only have to innovate. We have to come out of our comfort zone, the old-fashioned, traditional, inefficient things. From there, we must move to modern things. And we must imagine an India in 10 years' time when we practically do not have to import any oil and gas. I may be exaggerating, but supposing the oil and gas import comes down from the current quantities by, let's say, 50-60% to bring down, we are very safe then. Foreign exchange is saved, and no matter where disruptions happen, we are not worried. And because big players like India and China, once they start buying less, the prices actually will come down.
Yes.
So it's a win-win for us.
Thank you so much, sir. I think that was really important to have a positive outlook on this whole situation. Thank you, everybody.